tile to here, and then that whole wall gets tile. The ceiling gets tiled. It's to cut out an area for me up there. And then you might notice. Okay, so I covered the floor so that the tile protects it. It won't get dirty, it won't get stained, it won't get scratched. And then I've left just a little bit of tile exposed around the perimeter, so when I set the tile and I have to pull the tape off, I'm not going to be struggling because it's stuck under the tile up there. And then you might notice that there's no mixing valve. We've got all these water jets, but there's no mixing valve. That's because it's an electronic mixing valve. And I put this here, so I'm going to cut a hole in the tile. Wire is going to go through, and it's going to connect. There's going to be a touch pad for to turn the water on and off. So if there's no power, there's no shower. Okay, so I cut that row in so that I'm perfectly level. It's all just pre-cut, and now I'm gonna start installing the tile. Okay, so I'm using a 1/4 inch by 1/2 inch deep notch trowel. I'm just going to get the bottom row perfect. And then I'll build it up. Okay, so I'm working on this bottom row to get it completely and perfectly level. That way I know when I build on top of that, everything else that follows is going to be level. If you start with a row of tile, your bottom row, that's out of level, then obviously everything on top is gonna follow that and be out of level. So spend some extra time on your first row of tile. Make sure it's flat, level, and perfect. That way, as you're building on top of it, you're going to follow that, and you'll be always correct in your level and your flatness. So I've been a little slow on building this series of videos, but there are other videos. I'll put a link in the description and some in the cards of all the steps preceding getting up to this point where I'm ready to install the tile. I have videos of the layout, the putting up the board, putting in the linear drain, installing the floor, etc. So I will put a link to some of those videos in the description, and I will also, when I completely finish this series, I will I'll make a playlist out of it. So for now, this video is about installing the tile on the walls. These tiles are 20 inches by 10 inches, so they're large format tiles. And when I install large format tiles, I use a leveling system. The one I'm using here and pretty much always is the T-lock system. So in my opinion, if you're going to be using a large format tile, it's a good idea to use the leveling system. The reason for that is because most tiles, no matter how good they are, how much they cost, most large format tiles are going to be warped somewhat. That's not because they're not made properly. It's because it's inherent in the way the tiles are made. So when they're fired, there's tension in the tile and they warp a little bit. Some are worse than others. Usually the cheaper tiles are worse and the more expensive tiles are better, but there's always some amount of warping. So I encourage using a leveling system when you're installing a large format tile. When I install large format tiles, I pretty much always back butter. On smaller tiles, like say a 3x6 or something like that, it's really not needed. And even on a 12x12, if you're using the right notch size trowel, it's really not needed. I do it anyway, but you can get away without doing it. But on large format tiles and natural stone, absolutely back butter every tile. You get better transfer, better contact, better adhesion. Okay, so that bottom row is perfect. Now I already pre-cut, put two more rows, I pre-cut those, so I'm going to put 2 rows up now. Now I got my razor for this line, and I got the level line for that line. So even though I'm using a leveling system, I am still going to check for flat and plumb. The leveling system is just a tool. It's not a miracle cure. So always check for flat and plumb. Put your straight edge or your level across the number of tiles and make sure that it touches across the entire surface of the wall. Okay, so once I got that row up, I'm going to check one last time for flat, make sure everything's good, and then I'm going to spread some more thinset and keep on going up the wall. So as you're installing a tile, it's a good idea to periodically install a tile, pull it back off a little bit just so you can see behind it and check to see what your coverage is. If it's good, keep going. If it's not, make adjustments. Okay, so this is where the niche is going. This is the niche.
and then I gotta cut this out here. So I want the bottom of the niche. The bottom of the niche. I want the bottom of the niche here. And the top of the niche to line up with the grout lines. And that I put this line here and this line here, and that exactly lines up with the grout lines. And then, so this is the top. This is the top of the tile. So I want that to line up there. And then this line here is where the other top of the tile is going to be. So I'm going to trace around this thing here to get my cutout. So I've got a couple of lines there already. I just got to trace this bottom line here. So I'm going to do that right now.
So as always, leave your comments in the comment section below. Check out my online store, dibsmart.com, and if you want, you can check me out on Patreon and support me there. But most important of all, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.
Right on there. Perfect. So I'm going to put this in. Actually, because there's nothing behind here, I'm going to put another piece of cutting board behind here just to reinforce it. Okay, so because there's nothing here, no backing, I stuck another piece of curdy board on here just to reinforce it. And I'm going to put this on. Okay, so usually you put the curdy band all the way around, but I just do this, cut a big piece of curdy membrane, stick it on, and then cut the center out. So that's done. Okay, so I got one more row up, and flat, plumb, flat that way, flat, and plumb. So next, just keep going up this wall, and I'll leave the last row of tile before the ceiling off, because I want to put the ceiling on first before I do that. So okay, so just keep going.
So I've decided to divide this video in two parts because otherwise it'll be over an hour long. So I am going to upload the other part of this video, the other half of this video, next week. So look out for it in your feed. This will stop when I finish this wall here, and I'll pick up the video next week where I install the tile around the niche and then continue on to the end of this bathroom. So look out for it next week on my channel.
Okay, so this floor slopes down this way, and the way I laid it out, I'm going to start with a full tile over here. So I need to get this line marked so it follows that curve. So if you've got a level or a laser level, which makes it a lot easier, this is how you can do it. Put this around the other way. I'm exactly with the laser level. I'm going to mark here exactly where the laser is. Put a mark there. Now, when I turn this around, it's going to fit exactly. So what I'm going to do is going to connect. I can bring this around to the other side. You could cut it from the back, but sometimes when you cut the tile from the back, it chips the tile on the front. So you want to always try and cut it from the front. So bring this line around the other side. So I brought those two lines around. And now I'm just going to connect those lines. I cut that, and that'll be the right pitch. Okay, so I cut it. So it is. Now the next one goes here, and then the next one over there. And these pieces here, see how they're numbered? This one goes here, so it matches. The colors match. You see that if I put this in here, it's darker. This is the second one. This goes here. Oh, sorry, this one goes here, and the colors match. Okay, so I put this Schluter metal on here, so it's right in place and it won't move, and I taped it on. And as I go up, I'm going to take the tape off and make sure it's exactly where it needs to be. Okay, so once I got this bottom row of the side wall done, I just continued up the wall and went to the same height as the long wall, leaving out the top row so they could do the ceiling. So from here, once this wall was done, I moved on to the ceiling, and then the niche, and then the other long accent wall. Okay, so I forgot to turn the camera on, but I put a metal up there, and I'm gonna the way I'm doing this is I'm gonna just skim the ceiling back by the tile and push it in, so I'm not working upside down as much. So that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, so I did the ceiling. I forgot to turn the camera on, but anyway, it's done. And now next I'll finish the top row and move on to this wall here, and then that's pretty much the shower and the floor.